Rev up your engines!
Abdullah Kashabi says, "Hey Scotty, is there a way to predict if the battery will not be able to start my engine?" Well, of course there is. I've got a good battery checking machine. The best one that I use is called a Midtronics. It's a very good electronics company. All I have to do is put that Midtronic battery tester on a battery. It takes 30 seconds. And it says, "You want to check the battery?" Yes. Then you look on the battery for the ratings. And if it's like 750 cold cranking amps, then I set it for 750 cold cranking amps. I push the button, it tests the battery. It's a very accurate system. I advise people, if they're worried and they got an older battery, find a guy like me or places like AutoZone, do it for free. Have the battery load tested. Just make sure you have it load tested by an honest mechanic. Because if they're crooked, let's say you had a 600 cold cranking amp battery. To make it look bad, all I would have to do is hook that tester up, and instead of saying it's 600 amps, put it to like 800 amp testing, and it would say it's bad because it's a older battery and it's a lower rated battery. So you got to make sure that it's an honest person checking it with the machine in the first place, because a lot of guys want to sell you stuff. So watch them check it. Sergeant Velociraptor says, "Scotty, what do you think will last longer with the least amount of problems? An '08 Nissan Maxima automatic with 65,000 miles, or a 2006 Acura TXS manual with 135,000 miles?" Well, I would go with the Acura on that, because those Nissan Maximas had problems with their automatic transmissions and electronic problems in 2008. That was after Renault merged with Nissan. I would go with the TXS manual, because it's a fancy Honda, and Honda makes excellent manual transmissions and excellent engines. The weak thing of an Acura TXX is their automatic transmissions, but that's got a manual, so I would go for that, even though it has almost twice the mileage that the Nissan has, because when a Nissan automatic transmission goes out, it's more money than the car's worth to fix. And the Acura with the manual will be more fun to drive. Hey Peg, hey Scotty, I live in Canada. Would like to know what you would recommend, a second-hand RAV4 or a second-hand Subaru Impreza. I went to university in Toronto a long time ago when dinosaurs roamed the plains there. You've got an interesting choice there. The RAV4s last a long time, they're really well made, but all the Subarus are all-wheel drive. It depends on where you live in Canada. Now, when I was living in Toronto, it didn't snow all that much, and they plowed the roads, and just regular two-wheel drive worked perfectly fine. But if you live up north like Aurelia, or out west, up north where it snows a lot more, all four-wheel drive is, pretty good system. Now, if you got a RAV4 with a four-wheel drive, yeah, but most of the Subarus are all-wheel drive, where only a few of the Toyotas are all-wheel drive. So you got to decide whether you want all-wheel drive or not. If you don't want all-wheel drive, get the RAV4, but if you do, you're probably better off with the Subaru there. Firewall Administrator 612 says, "Scotty, would it be dumb for me to dump $20,000 on a 96 Impala SS with 20,000 miles?" Well, I wouldn't spend that kind of money, but, if you're talking about an SS, it's a fancier one. It's got the V8, and they're kind of fun to drive around. What you have to do with a vehicle like that, though, is you got to make sure that's the real mileage, because that's what? A 23-year-old vehicle. You got to get proof registration when it was inspected, make sure the mileage always was the same and went up a little at a time, and that it just doesn't have a different speedometer put in it, because if you're going to pay that kind of money, you got to make sure that that's the real mileage of a vehicle. Now, back then, GM was building a lot better vehicles than they make today, so it could be a really good vehicle, but you would want to prove that it actually had only 20,000 miles on it. Axis of Evil says, "My Chrysler 300C will hang up in second gear once in a while. I'll have to slow it down so it drops a gear, then it seems okay. Any idea what could be causing the issue?" Those are notorious for having horrible automatic transmissions, and you're getting a problem inside. Any automatic transmission that acts like that has internal problems that are starting to wear. Like years ago, Mercedes-Benz put a bunch of automatic transmissions in their 300 diesels, and the 300 diesels were pretty good engines, but the transmissions were a little bit weak. And most of my customers, as they got really old, that's what they do. They'd step on the gas and they'd take off, but if they wanted to shift gear, they'd take their foot off the gas and all, then it would shift into the next gear. It's always a sign that the inside of the automatic transmission is starting to have serious problems. If you baby and it goes okay, You know, those things aren't worth that much money as they age. You didn't say what year it was, but you might just want to baby it, because if you're going to have a rebuilt transmission put in one of those things, it's going to cost thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. So you might think twice. You might even think about getting rid of it and getting another vehicle that doesn't have a problem like that.
So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.